Each of the gospel writers tells the story of Jesus' reappearance following the crucifixion. A resurrected Christ seeks out his followers and assures them that he is still with them, even if in a different form. My favorite of all these stories comes from the Gospel of John. Jesus appears, standing on the shore of the Sea of Tiberias, and he calls to the disciples who are out on the sea fishing. He tells them to cast their nets on the side of the boat, and behold, a great number of fish are caught. He then meets the disciples on the shore, and they roast the fish and have breakfast together. Before he leaves them, he says to Simon Peter, "Do you love me more than all else?" "Yes, Lord, you know that I do," the disciple answers. "Then feed my lambs," says Jesus. Twice more, Jesus asked Simon Peter the same question, "Do you love me?" And Simon Peter, growing increasingly confused, says, "You know that I do." Each time Jesus says to him, "If you love me, feed my lambs, tend my sheep, feed my lambs. I will be with you always, even to the end of time." Those are the words that conclude the Gospel of Matthew as Jesus leaves the disciples for the last time. Would you join me now in prayer? Great and gentle, strong and humble God, we come before you this day seeking a risen Christ in our midst. We need to see you. We need to know that you are with us in this strange time of turmoil and confusion. We know that your creative spirit gives birth to all kinds of beauty that surrounds us even in the most unsettling of times. There is rain to nourish all that grows. There is seed that is set as every flower fades to give sustenance to life. The natural world dances to a quiet symphony as the busyness of our normal pace of life grinds to a halt. But we are hungry even still, Lord. We hunger for life to return in its fullness, to distract us from the things we have only just begun to learn in this time of uninvited stillness. Quiet our minds, Lord, so that we might see you and understand you in new and different ways. Feed my sheep, tend my lambs, you said to Simon Peter. The love we have shown to one another, don't let it die. That's what you really said to him. This we know. And we see that love now in the work done by caregivers all across this world you so loved. The doctors and nurses, the ambulance drivers and EMTs, they hear you say, "Feed my sheep." Those who stock shelves in grocery stores and deliver meals and stay at the counter in the pharmacy, they hear you saying, "Tend my sheep." Those who volunteer in food banks and homeless shelters, in firehouses and city halls across the nations, they hear you saying, "Feed my sheep." Don't let the love we have come to know die. The love you have shown for us and the love we have for one another, this is the most precious of gifts, God. Help us to hold that love with all the tenderness and tenacity its tenuous beauty asks of us. Let it be, loving God, that love is the beauty that endures the ravages of Corona. Let it be. We will feed your sheep and tend your lambs, for it is in doing so that you, the risen Christ, stand in our midst. When we feel lost or alone, come to us, risen Christ, in the form of a word from a friend or an offer of help from a neighbor. When we feel afraid, remind us that just as you ate with the disciples on the shore of the lake, you will sit beside us at our tables and stay at our bedsides through the darkest of nights. When we wonder if we have enough strength to endure the trials that are before us, remind us that you leave us not alone. For lo, I am with you always, even to the end of time. Hear this in all our prayers, in the name of the one who stands even now in our midst. Jesus the Christ. Amen.